now. So once again, hello everyone, and I welcome you to this session today. Today we are going to be discussing on PhD applications and opportunities. My name is Karen Oche. I'm a master's student at the University of Oklahoma, and I'll be your facilitator for this session today. So just before we run along, I'll just try to share my slides, and I would like to confirm if the panelists can unmute themselves so we are all on the same page. Can you unmute yourself and say hi? So I just know that you can. Okay. Okay, great.
Hi. Hi.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. All right. So thank you for coming in. It's an opportunity to have all of you here, and I'm really excited to hear your stories. So this is the outline we'll be going with today. We will discuss the applicants and then the school and then the application in that trend, basically. So please let's all be aware that what we are sharing are best, practices, what we have applied and it has worked for us. They are not rule of thumbs, they are not sacrosanct. What works for Jack might not work for Jill. The recommendations are based on our experiences. We are not being paid for this, and it is not a consulting company. We are also not advertising for anybody. This is just us sharing our experiences with you, and hopefully you gain from it. So the first thing we are going to talk about today is the applicants, right? And at this venue, I want all of our panelists to just unmute themselves, and I'll facilitate that session. And first of all, just share your personal journey with you. How was it? What was it up till you got to this place where you're particularly doing your PhD? So in no particular order, I'll start with Oludayo Sokumbi. Just introduce yourself and tell us your journey, how it's been.
Okay, hello guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. It's good to be here once again. My name is Oludayo Sokumbi. I'm a PhD researcher in Concordia University, Canada, and my personal journey, right? Okay, so where do I start from? Okay, let me start from here. I finished my BSc, and as a scholarship enthusiast, I was told that, thankfully for one of my brother in my family, I lost my dad, and I was told that the only way to make, one of the good ways to make your ways better is to, do a scholarship. And so when I finished, during my NYSC, I started applying for scholarship. Nothing worked actually, so I finished the NYSC, nothing worked. And I told myself that I would rather work than apply for a master's degree in Nigeria. I'm not saying that this should apply to everyone, but this is just my own personal story. I told myself that I would rather work than apply for any of my Nigerian scholarships. So I started work. Scholarship did not come, and out of the numerous MSc scholarship that I applied to, so one worked, which is I got a fully funded scholarship in King Fahd University of Petroleum and Minerals in Saudi Arabia. And of course, for obvious reasons, as a Christian, it raised a lot of alarm and concerns. But thankfully, I was able to see one or two people who encouraged me to apply to go for the scholarship in Saudi Arabia. And I can tell you today that by the grace of God, everything that I now know and I still continue to know was given to me by Saudi Arabia. So I finished MSc. We did MSc. I started MSc in January 2018, and after 2 years, I decided to extend it for a little bit because I was doing research, and then that was when it was during that time that I applied to a scholarship. I knew all of these things that I now post on my Twitter handle about scholarship, and then I was able to apply. And at the end of the day, I was able to at least get like I said, I sent about 160 emails, and the out of those 160 emails, about 4 gave me a reply, and 2 gave me fully funded scholarship, and I eventually came to apply. I took the one for Canada. So that's just a brief summary of my story. But the highlight there in my story that I would like to tell anybody is that if you are aiming for the moon, or how do they say that thing, and you get the stars or something, do not say that you have to necessarily go to where you want to go to. I also applied for MSc in Canada. I was refused visa because I couldn't get enough funding. I was not given a fully funded scholarship. I didn't know about it then. And then I went to Saudi Arabia, and then from Saudi Arabia to Canada. So if anyone here, the only thing that I feel that anybody can learn from my story is that even if you are aiming for Canada and US and you get any other place, please do not say no. Let that be a stepping stone to whatever you want to do. The truth is that the research I'm doing now in Canada is not as tough. It's nothing compared to what my eyes have seen in Saudi Arabia. So I learned all of those rigor, all of those tricks during my MSc, because my MSc was 2.5 years. So it's just like a PhD. I had about 10, 11 publications for my MSc. So that's even more than a PhD work. So the PhD looks like a piece of cake because I've done all the hard work. So you don't know where you are going to get the experience that you will need. So do not say no to any opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that insightful, story, and for letting us get to know you, Oludayo. So do not reject any opportunity because you don't know which is key. Okay, so next I'll be calling on Chisom to share your story with us.
Hi everyone, my name is Chisungs Story. I finished from the University of Lagos, where I studied pure and applied chemistry. And then after that, I went for my NYSC for a year, and then I worked for about a year and 6 months before I applied to LSU, where I am currently doing my PhD in analytical chemistry. For my story, I would say the most important factor is being informed and having like-minded people around you. So, because I just came here like all the way from a BSc, I didn't get a master's before coming for my PhD. So I basically sought the right information from my friends, and I was on a group which assisted me to prepare effectively. So I'll just say being informed is very key. Being like rolling with like-minded people also is very key, and making up your mind early enough so that if you need letters of reference, or you need your transcript, you can know what the process is like, so that it doesn't make you wait for an extra year. So information, being prepared, and rolling with like-minded people, those were the key factors for me, and of course the God factor. So that's it for me.
Okay, thank you very much, Chisom, for your story. I'll personally tell you that Chisom was one of the few people that made me even consider graduate school application, because she was one of the people I saw that it had worked for and it was possible. Like when she told me, I was like, "Are you sure?" She said, "Yes." I kept asking her, "Are you sure?" And she has been with me throughout the process. So the impact of like-minded people around you honestly cannot be under exaggerated. I guess that's the word. Okay, so next I'm going to call on Oyi to please share your journey with us and let us know, how it's been.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Faintly.
Is it better now?
Yeah, much better.
Okay, hi everyone, my name is Rita Okorafor. I'm currently a PhD student in sociology at the University of Oklahoma. My journey, I went to the University of Ibadan for my bachelor's degree in sociology. And I'd always known I wanted to, have a PhD. I'd always known I wanted to go into research. And this was probably heavily influenced by my mom. My mom is an assistant professor of economics. So like, it just made sense that I always wanted to do research. So right after my undergrad, I finished my NYC in July, and I was in the University of Ghana for my master's in August. And at the end of my master's, I decided I wanted to do some work. I wanted to work and do research work for a little bit before going for my PhD. So I did some research work. I consulted with some companies in World Bank, and then I also came back to work for the Nigerian Institute of Social and Economic Research, just to say that I knew I wanted to be a researcher, and everything I did was like research based. Every job I took was research based. Every opportunity I took was like research based. I know it's not the same for everybody, but I just had that focus, and I always followed through with that. So I eventually applied to the University of Oklahoma because I found a professor who worked on Africa. And although I wanted to school abroad, I still wanted to work on Africa. So it was very important for me to find, a professor who was willing to work on that. So I found her and I applied, and here I am today. It's just been that. My own is just basically know what you want to do from the onset, get what you want to do and sort it out and follow through with what you want to do.
Okay, thank you so much, Oyin, for that session. So know what you want to go do from the onset, have a clear mind, have a clear vision. And it's okay if you don't know it right now, right? But at least when you know it, be intentional about it. Okay, so when we were organizing this webinar, I'm trying to look for the promise we made. We made some promises, just give me a minute. I'm just trying to check my WhatsApp chat. Okay, we made some promises. We said we're going to cover BSc straight to PhD, and from Chisungs Story, you can see that she has that experience for us to leverage on. We said we are going to cover PhD in non-STEM areas, because some people particularly have the notion that funding or opportunities to go to grad school abroad is just for STEM-related careers. But we've heard Oyin that had her BSc in sociology, and she's a PhD student here. We also said we're going to, I can't even find this list on my phone again. Okay, I've seen it. We also said we're going to talk, about MSc to PhD routes, and we've listened to Dayo that did his MSc in Saudi Arabia, and he learned a lot, and he has been able to leverage that opportunity, to his PhD currently. I think Oyin, did you have a master's before going for your PhD?
Yes, I did.
Okay, yeah, so Oyin shared a similar experience. The last the last pointer we are here to give you today is mid-career professional to PhD. And for this, I want to call on Dr. Rita. Please emphasize on the doctor, because she has finished her PhD and it's not easy, So Rita, are you there, please?
You are funny.
I tried.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so hi everyone, and greetings depending on what time zone you are. I'm Rita Okorafor. I graduated from Uniport many years ago, I think around 2002, and I immediately did my master's after NYSC at the Institute of Petroleum Studies in Uniport. Then after that, I joined Schlumberger immediately, where I worked for about 13 years. But about 10 years into my career, there was something that I noticed about myself. I wanted to know more. I wanted to expand my ideas. I wanted to write papers, and I wasn't getting all of it sitting down doing work, the regular work that I got from Schlumberger. And also, every time I was at work, I found out that I was explaining things to people, teaching, knowledge sharing. So those things, started saying what kind of career would suit me most. And I felt it was something in academia. And of course, the path towards academia, you need to get a PhD. And if that was a necessary requirement, I had to do it. And so in 2014, I started applying to no, that was 2015. I started applying to different schools in the US to do my PhD. In 2015, the responses came out and they were all unfavorable. I got all rejections for all the applications that I made. And I had to go back and rethink what should I do differently to get me into a good school, to get the kind of PhD that I'm looking for. And I guess in the course of the discussion, I may share more about what really went wrong with my applications and all of that. But in 2016, I applied to Stanford University. And to my surprise, 2017, February, they told me that I was accepted into their program. And so I started off in 2017 after having tried to convince my husband that I should take this offer. So yes, so that's my story in a nutshell. But for me, what I really learned is that it's okay to aim high. But if you're trying to apply to any school, you just need to understand what is their culture, what are their values. And just as I would say in relationships, you can meet somebody, even if the person is so beautiful or so handsome, but you people's core values don't align. There might be a lot of friction. But where you see the values aligning, the both of you are able to, manage yourselves. And so this is the thing in many of the schools I applied for. I didn't, first of all, research to understand what they were looking for. Maybe I would have put that in my SOP. I did not present myself as a person that would suit their department or faculty or school. But when I had sufficient rejections, I had to go back and rethink what my whole process from scratch, even having to rewrite my GRE. Okay, so all of that I needed to do to be able to get into Stanford. Now, I wouldn't say that, I cannot say that everything I did became perfect for me to get into Stanford. It could just be an opportunity that came up. Maybe I had some experience that they were looking for or something. I don't know, because I wasn't in the panel where the decision was made. But on my own side, I made my own efforts towards going towards that school. So that's what I would say. And then I guess in the course of this discussion, maybe some more points will come out as to what I learned along the way. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, Rita. We are probably going to probe into some of these some of these points you've highlighted. But one key thing I want to point out is, sorry if the feedback we got from this session 2 weeks ago was that people like how genuine we were, right? So I'll try to, my boss and our host, Lutana, I don't think I can be as good as him, but I'll try to make this session as interactive and as engaging. So even when people watch the recording, they have the same experience. Everybody on this panel, I have a personal relationship with, sort of, maybe except from Dio, because we just became friends because of this panel. But I have been a stalker and reader of Dio's tweets, right, when I was in this whole process. My point is this. Rita is somebody I have met before in 2017 in an industry setting, and I was wowed by her persona, right? And seeing somebody like that saying that, she went through rejections, it just gives you the sense that, no matter how this grad school journey might seem, you've tried before, it still doesn't seem like it's working out, still pick yourself up and still push. If the best of the lot has it handed out to them, so why do you think rejections cannot come your way and you can't pick yourself back up? So leveraging on that point, we are going to, let me just share my screen. All right. So I'll be stopping the share regularly so you can focus on the panelist face and guess the true emotions as they are discussing. So I'm going to be talking on standing out among the applicants poll, right? And I'll be asking each of the panelists, what do you think made you stand out? What do you think was your unique selling point? What do you think caught you across from the other people that made them interested in you, and not interested in the other person? I'll start with Oyin.
That's putting me on the spot, but okay. I would say that first, like Chisom was saying, God, because I can't say anything. I'm absolutely nothing without God, and I'm a firm believer in God. And I also think that one of the things I did was that I was a voracious reader. I read so much. Like I read anything. I was on Quora, I was on any space that talks about graduate application, any online space. I was there because I almost didn't come to a webinar like this. I almost didn't even have anybody to talk to. I just focused on what I read online. So I read a lot online. So I built on people's experiences, and I put that into my SOP and into my CV and into even the emails I sent out to professors. And we're going to talk about it when we go on. Another thing I think was my research experience. Honestly, I do think that the fact that I had done some research, and I was I could do research also made me stand out. And it's not like I had we're going to talk about the ideal applicant. It's not like I had the best of it. I graduated with a second class lower. I always tell people that, and it's always like people feel like if you graduated with a second class lower, that's the end of it. You can't do a PhD. That's not true. I graduated with a second class lower, but I was able to leverage on the fact that I had some good research experience. And also, I think how you present it matters. You need to present your story in a compelling way. I always tell people that if you're reading your story and you're not even convinced about your story, how do you want other people to be convinced about your story?
Mm-hmm.
So you need to own your story, be confident in the story you're telling, be confident in adding your experiences to the work you've done, so that you need to find a way to merge both of them. I think that's one of the things that helped me. I found a way to, merge the experiences I had working and, the education I received, and just to present myself. And like Rita was saying too, I also went to read about the school. One of the things that people don't do is you don't read about the school you're applying to. You can't just do that. You can't just apply, without reading about the school. You have to read about the school. You have to read about the professors. You have to read about, what they are known for. Because when you start putting those things in your application, it makes them see this person has done due diligence. This person has done their work. Yeah, that's what I think helped.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Oyin. So we need to do our due diligence, of course, putting God first, Thank you. So next, I'm going to be calling on Chisom. And this time, I just want you to let us know what you think the profile of the ideal applicant is. Because, you went to do your PhD straight from a BSc in analytical chemistry. Some of us, our brain cannot carry that kind of of workload. So please tell us, what do you think? What do you think is the profile of an ideal applicant? What do you think? Okay, if you have it, you have good chances. People reach out to me, Karen, help me, put me. I'm like, what is your profile? So there's people here, different profiles. What do you think is the profile of an ideal applicant? Of course, leveraging from your experience.
Karen. Anyway, so I wouldn't say there is a book actually that can give you all the information that you need. But there's one thing that I'm really sure of. If you want to go somewhere, you have to interact with people who are either on that path or who have walked through the same path, basically. So I keep saying information is key. So that was a very big thing for me. And you basically have to plan it. You don't just wake up one day and see all your friends abroad and you want to go to. You have to think, what are my own strengths? What would I really do well at, basically? So for the whole PhD thing, there is no particular thing that you need, but you need to have good test scores if your school needs those. You need to have courses to show that you've taken some courses that are necessary for your program. You also need to have your letters of references. So there are so many things that you need to actually be a good PhD or graduate school student, basically. So I would say there's no one size fits all, but you just need information. So from my own experience now, when it was time for me to write my SOP, what I did was I went to every school that I wanted to apply to. I went to their alumni lists, and I tried to look for a name that was familiar. So I am Nigerian, right? So I was searching out for Nigerian names because I felt like these people are going to give me a feedback faster than other nationalities. And that was how I found someone who works at Intel, basically at FSU or so. And he put me through, he helped me to edit my SOP. Like I had never met this guy anywhere. So it's just the same thing, trying to network with people who are in the same field with you, basically. And like I said, I was on a GRE group also, and on that group we always tried to practice questions to see how we could, solve questions faster, because I actually noticed that the GRE exam doesn't really test if you are intelligent. I don't think it is a test of being brilliant. I'll just say it just says how fast you can think about, solutions. Because when I'm practicing on my own without, timing myself, I do better than when I'm under the whole constraint of time and all of that. And this is for my own practice. Now, imagine the whole anxiety that comes with you doing this at the exam center. It's just going to be really crazy. So I would say you just have to have the best information at every point in time. Ask questions when you want to take your test, when you need your letters of references. Ask those who are already in the field, because if you're always asking questions, you'll be able to spot when you're going along the wrong way, basically. And pray. I mean, it might sound cliche, but heaven knows. For me, I got my admission late, basically. I had given up, actually. I just felt I should wait for the next year, because most of the people that applied when I applied got their decisions in January or February or something. But for me, I had to wait till the 15th of April. And not just that, when I applied initially, they said I didn't need the test of English and foreign languages, the TOEFL test. But then when it was time for me to either accept or decline, I was told that I had to write the test. Now, there were no dates for me to actually write my test, and this was April, and school resumed in August. So I was so tense at that period. The earliest date I could find was sometime in June. Now, I was scared because I'm like, can I get enough for this school to actually take me still? So my admission was pending till I wrote my TOEFL. Then I got a good score, and then I had to go for my visa application. And you still have to wait for your I-20 to come in the mail. Like, it was a very crazy process. So I wouldn't say it was my own efforts entirely. I would say I prayed, and I believed that if this thing was going to work out, I was doing my own bit. So you don't just pray and fold your arms, basically. You have to put in the work. You need to ask questions. Just keep doing your own part, and eventually everything's going to work out.
Wow, thank you so much. So two key things I picked out. So I think it was Isaac Newton that said, if we have seen further, it's by standing on the shoulders of giants. That is a phrase that I don't know how many people understand how important it is, but it is very important, right? So it's very important to have, it cannot be overplayed, the importance of the right network around you. I'm saying this because in my own case, I had my admission issues during the pandemic. So I had given up at some point, and I had a job offer that I was going to choose from. And I remember there was this day, Antonia, I don't know if you remember, where we had a long call where you were trying to tell me it will still work. And at that point, I had almost given up, and you start doubting yourself. But then having the right people around you, it helps you to see forward, you know, it helps you to not make mistakes they've made, very importantly, right? And secondly, I don't know how many people believe in a higher power, right? But I do, and I believe in God. So if you do, I mean, this is not a this admission process, honestly, is not just the power of man. It's not the power of man at play. There are external forces and you have to fight them. So you have to be ready to fight in all the realms and dimensions, right? So next, you're going to be looking at strengthening your profile, right? So if you remember when Dr. Rita was giving, Dario, I'm coming to you. Your own question is baking in the oven. Just give me a bit. So Dr. Rita said, Rita mentioned how she had applied and she got rejections and she went back and she did some things to boost her profile, and then she came back and she applied, and you know, today we're a doctor from Stanford University. Please, please cut up for us. Tell us, how do we strengthen our profile? How do we boost it? How do we get there? Please.
Okay, please, if Karen continues like this, I would leave because I'm quite shy, you know. So yeah, so the thing is, now when you know, when there's rejection, you look back, you're like, okay, it's either that this is not for me. And I think I mentioned to my husband that, look, it's like this PhD stuff is not for me. Or you decide to try again. Like, what can I do differently? Seek for help. So the first thing is, I called a friend. Please look at this, my SOP. What is wrong with my SOP? In fact, by the time she edited this SOP and sent to me, I didn't even know that it's the same person she was talking about. But the thing is that she knew me enough to be able to say how I should be able to highlight my strengths. Now, I may not be the most intelligent person. I graduated with a 2-1. So, and you would know that Stanford University is one of these universities where, you know, the way the people think is just like out of this world. So, but I still went ahead. But what I now brought in is, look, I may not be a first-class student, but I do have some experience on things that are related to industry or can be transferred to the industry that I want to research on. The second thing is that I was a serial volunteer. I don't know, Karen says she's a serial volunteer. I was a serial volunteer. So if you look at my profile, in terms of what I put in who I am and the kind of awards I had won, they know that for somebody to have won those kind of awards, perhaps this person is somebody that is devoted and committed and would, you know, put those kind of things into the research. And then I had a few papers, though not journal papers, but conference papers. But still, I cannot say that that's what makes an ideal candidate, because everybody is unique, right? And what the panel is looking for, they're just looking for somebody that resonates with them in terms of values. Like I've said, it values, principles. Does this person have the kind of grit we're looking for? Does this person have the kind of stamina to withstand the education, the research? Is this person going to be an ambassador of our university when the person eventually goes out? So there are a lot of thoughts that go into it. So how do you then strengthen your profile? If you are weak in one area, try and develop other areas. If you are very strong in research and you are applying for a research university, of course, it's automatic that you should get it, right? But if you are not strong in research, but you have other areas where you have strength, highlight them. Okay, this is my experience, or this is what I did volunteering. And so why is volunteering? Why do I want to highlight volunteering? Because the university they also have things related to that where they will need people with those kind of strengths and determination. So you highlight it. I also talked about the things that I did for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And these are things that are beginning to surface now. Some universities are beginning to get big on it. So, and then networking, of course. So I met people. I was able to meet one of the professors face to face and just, you know, just talk about my interest. I wasn't just, I want to be a professor one day when I grow up, that kind of thing, but nothing serious. I didn't go into, I want to do research. No, I didn't, get into all that. So just try to network so that they can advise you on the kind of things that you need for applying to different schools. So if I want to just come back to everything that, kind of to summarize what I'm saying, I don't believe there's an ideal candidate. You just have to understand that they are looking for several things. Sometimes you can even have a checklist of 100 things they're looking for, but you bring in something that they couldn't have imagined. Oh, wow. So there are actually people like this. It's not even in their checklist. Okay, let us try to see what this person is. So highlight your strengths. Everybody has strengths, and try to focus on it and see how your strengths align with the university you're applying to. Identify areas of weakness and see how you can develop them. Especially coming from, let me say, in some universities in Nigeria, our research is not very strong, comparable to what they do. So it means that afterwards you want to write some papers. For example, like once you graduate, write some papers out of your thesis and find avenues to do research or to learn one or two things that you can talk about, or to take courses that would help you to boost your knowledge towards the area that you're going towards. So those are the things that I would say that I did. And of course, seek help for people to look through, people that know you, to look through your SOP. So you're not just writing a generic SOP, but an SOP that somebody will say, look, you're actually good in this. Why don't you highlight this? And you're actually not good in this. Why don't you downplay it and find other areas of your strength to work on? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rita. You say you told the professor you want to be like him when he grows up. I will not say anything, so I will not send you away from the meeting. But okay, guys, on a more serious note, we have talked about the applicants, and we've been hearing some linguas here like SOP, GREs. I just realized it's possible some people don't know what these things are. When we talk about the application, we'll handle all the questions, right? And honestly, I cannot buttress on volunteering. I mean, aside from the fact that you're giving back to humanity and it is good for, you're actually building your portfolio, right? Because in some instances, volunteering experiences can stand as job experiences. I've applied for jobs where I leveraged on my volunteering experience, to apply for jobs. And one of my mentors used to say, if you're in an association, you don't get the true value until you start volunteering. So it's something to key into. If you need pointers, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm sure from my LinkedIn page, you can see one or two associations that match your profile for you to volunteer, because I volunteer with a lot in different aspects. All right, so finally, we are moving on. I want to thank all of the panelists at this point for sharing their stories, and I hope we've been able to gain. Please, if you're not talking, please mute yourself so I don't have to stop the meeting. Thank you. Sorry, a minute, let me. We've gained one or two from their experiences. So at this point, we want to talk about the school, and I want to invite Dayo. So the first thing we want to talk about is, Dayo, I want you to help me answer the first two bullets. I don't know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I want you to talk about choice of major or discipline. What influenced, your choice of major or discipline, where you did your master's and then your PhD? What influenced the decision, right? And then I want you to quickly slide into the next question that talks about options. So we already have seen the different stories from different panelists, how their experiences are. What do you think is a major influence that will affect the option you particularly choose, right? So I just want you to tell me about choice of major of discipline and basically the choice of the option you go with. Should you, for those that are just finishing their undergrad now, should they just jump into a PhD, or do you think they should go for their master's first, or do you think they should work for a while before they start their PhD? We just want to know your opinion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Okay, first one is my own route, choice of my discipline, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, for people following me on Twitter, I said something around January. I said that I finished from electrical engineering, so I like to be practical. So let me just make it so practical. For people in engineering, electrical engineering has power and telecom. If anybody tells you he's studying electrical engineering, you either say the person is working with MTN or the person is carrying NEPA pole. So that's usually the mindset. So I did telecommunication in Lautech. I finished from Lautech, by the way. And so when I got the scholarship, I will always emphasize Saudi in every of my story, because God used Saudi for me and I can never forget. Let me tell you how it happened. Mm-hmm. So when I got the scholarship, Saudi government just called all of us. So yeah, all of you come. And that was the only scholarship I got. So I just resigned straight up. I said, oh boy, I'm leaving this country. So I left. And I did something which is very important. I said it on Twitter Space 3 days ago. I said, ask the right question. Please, anybody here, ask the right question. I was just tired of this electrical engineering, telecom. Is there anything again? Must I also follow all this route? So I did something which is very important. And I thank God that God gave me that idea. I met all my seniors. And by the way, Saudi Arabia, KFPM, it does not contain only Muslims, in case anybody is thinking. There are many people who are neither Christians nor Muslim in Saudi and in that school. So let that one be. So in case you are thinking, so I moved up to them and I asked them questions. I said, bros, if I want to do, I have a definite question. If I want to do a research in this department and I want to finish with publications and I want to move to US or Canada, what can I do? Do you know that guy told me, he said, Dayo, if I had asked this question that you asked me, maybe I wouldn't have been stopped by now. So when he said that, I now asked him, what do you mean? So I said, there is this new field in electrical engineering that is called electromagnetism. For people in electrical engineering, you understand. In Nigeria, we only did that one course. I did a 500 level. I did not know that course is a big deal outside Nigeria. And they are the people in charge of all these antenna that they put in electrical devices. I didn't know. So they said it's a new course, it's a new deal that there's a guy that is from Canada. I'm just trying to share my story, how I got the funding. Mm-hmm. There's a guy from Canada that just came to Saudi. He's an Egyptian. He came to Saudi as a new assistant professor. That one or two of his friends worked with that guy, and they are now in Canada or US. I say correct. This is where I'm going. So because I already had the mind of what I wanted to do, I want to use Saudi as a leverage to where I want to eventually get to. So I asked the right question. So the guy told me that this guy has wahala, but if you work with him, you are going to get publication. He's going to stress you, but you are going to enjoy it. I said, you have a proof, right? So I called the two guys. I asked them, they said yes. So I made up my mind, I'm going to do a research in electromagnetics. So I changed my concentration from electrical engineering to electromagnetics. After the second semester, I went to the HOD. And so about 3 of us work with that guy. I can tell you today that 3 of us are out. No, one stayed, one was working. The other guy too is now in the UAE. I am in Canada. You know what happened? This guy drilled us. But because we knew where we were going, I knew that if I'm trained by this guy and I can have publication at least 2 or 3, I can use it as a leverage to get PhD anywhere. And so I had to take up the pain. So about 1 year, the guy drilled us. So he drilled us, and then we were able to cough out 10 publications each. 3 of us, you can imagine. That's more than a PhD work. Mm-hmm. So after 2 years, because of COVID and everything, I extended the whole thing. What am I coming to do in Nigeria for where? I said I'm not graduating. What graduating for where? So I extended the whole thing. Make sure I finish all of those publications. Those times were when I now use those publications to be sending emails. I talked to one of my seniors too, who is now doing his postdoc in one school in the US. The first email, I sent it to him. He was the one that corrected it. And that was when I got the idea of talking about the research of professors, telling him what you have read about him. I got it from that guy. So when I now saw it, and then I read every other thing, so I was able to get, I would not say it was just straight like that, but that's just the whole thing. That's just the way it happened. And I was able to get fully funded scholarship after a lot of rejection. Your own story may not be this way, but this is my own story. And that's why I always emphasize that if you have a lot of friends who are going to Japan now, who are going to South Korea, I say, guys, if you know that's not your destination, don't go and sleep. Ask the right questions. How can you move from point A to point B? So that was what influenced my own decision of studying electromagnetics. And I'm now, let me say, a lead expert in that area. I still reviewed a paper today. My supervisor Saudi sent a paper, a Q1 paper to me to review because he knows that he was not a trader. So he just used his name. He believed that whatever I do is what he would do. And then I did it well. So that's part of the training. And that's what Saudi has offered me. And I'm grateful to God for that. Okay, so for the next one, I talk about how do you know where to move, maybe from MS to or from those. For US, basically, I always tell people, but people that follow me on Twitter, you can get straight PhD from BSc. I don't even know. Everybody knows him Fire here by default. Every Nigerian knows him because he was one of the pioneers of Twitter. For those people who are conversant with Twitter, he was one that made me know that you can do a direct PhD with your BSc degree without having a master's. You know, what's just required for you is just to be smart. Do your GRE, do your TOEFL, and do all of it. And in fact, I can even tell you that the God factor is very important. One of my very close mentee last week got I said on Twitter today, got a fully funded PhD program, mechanical engineering, no TOEFL, no GRE. And he had just 4.11. You know, just 4.1. I had to call the guy, I beg, I need your number. I had to invite him and ask him, how did you do it? He said, he gave me the old email. I read the whole email thread. I discovered one thing: time and chance and favor. Simply, the guy has been sending a lot of emails. He has been sending a lot of things. But when he sent to this guy, the guy replied immediately that he has been looking for somebody, but he came at the right time. So the guy was the one that took over the whole application, and this guy had a fully funded scholarship, about 30K per year. You know, so it works like that. If you meet a professor who needs somebody urgently. When I was in Saudi, somebody to have that opportunity, he was told to write the TOEFL, but because the guy needed himself, he should forget the TOEFL, that he will write the graduate admissions, that they should wait for this guy. This guy had publications, so he needed him. So that guy is presently in US. So for US, PhD, BSc to PhD is feasible. If you can meet all the conditions, you can write TOEFL, you can write DRE. These things are important if you don't know anybody, you know, but it's not so important if God favors you. It's as simple as that. So I'm an advocate of writing your TOEFL, write DRE, write all of these things. But when it's your style, it is your time, my brother. Now your time, you know. So that's about for USC, for USA. And also you can also apply for MSc scholarship too, you know, to do write, send TOEFL, do your TOEFL, do your GRE, and get your MSc. Please, if you have I know some people have gotten admission. For those of you who want to read, you can go to my pin 356 on my Twitter handle. Somebody used the idea I put there and got a funding. The person already got an admission in the US, but no funding. So I gave some 3 conditions. I wrote it there, what you can do. You can either send emails to the grad coordinator, you can look for a professor, attach the admission letter, convince the professor that you are good with whatever you have done, and then you can get this. I think she's a lady. She did it and got a fully funded scholarship too. So that can work too. That's for US. For Canada, where I did, in Canada, most schools will require that you get an approval of a professor. Plus, you know why? Canada has limited funding. Canada is just big. The thing that matters in Canada is small in terms of funding, in terms of amenities, in terms of government stuff is usually small. So before you can come to Canada, you should be one of the best. I'm not one of the best. Don't so that you not see me as one. I'm an average student, but I know God has given the ability to make use of opportunities very fast. In fact, when I was doing my essay, I was not the best student because I was told that you share your time. Let people who will be getting A+ get it. Use half of your time for research. It will help you. And I thank God I followed that route. My CGP is not so good. It's just average. But my research experience is good by God's grace. And that is one of my greatest leverage that I use till now. That may not be your own story. Find your own story and then use it. So like I was saying, for Canada, my research experience was so good that when I sent email to that guy, after I sent emails, the guy I'm working with now was one of the persons that I had my MSc supervisor in Canada. Look at the story very well. As a postdoc. When my supervisor in Saudi was doing his postdoc in Canada, he did his postdoc with this guy that I'm currently doing my PhD with. So when I was sending email to him, I attached 2 of my papers that asked the name of his student, who happens to be my own supervisor. Look at the link. So I did not tell my supervisor so that he will not think as if he will not be as if he's the one that, human, they help you, they will always like to, So I did not tell him anything. So but I know that this guy is good. My supervisor is extremely good. I'm lucky to work with the guy. So I just attached it. When you saw the name of that guy, I said, you're working with this guy. Okay, good. Send, apply and send me your application number. When I saw that email, I know say I don't do it. All right, for guys, that's my Twitter. The people here should know my Twitter. I beg tell them so that they can see it on chat. My Twitter is at Oludiwon. If you're in Nigeria and you don't have, just switch on your VPN. Just check my tweet. You see everything there. Everything I'm saying now is on my tweet. Just check everything and you will see it there. All right. So for other places, they may not have the US, they may not have the BSc to PhD route. It may not happen. For example, in Canada, I hardly see BSc to PhD route. You can always get BSc to MSc first, and then from MSc to PhD, just like it happened to me. So in other places too, you usually get BSc, then MSc, and then PhD. So what matters is that take the country that you are going for, do your due diligence, ask questions, read about people who are sending information, just like I do. Is there on Twitter, everything is there broken down, and then you can say, and then you can apply. And most importantly, please pray. My own taste is time and chance, I can tell you. It's just that I did my job, but God also added to it. So this is just my story. I believe that to inspire somebody to also go through that. I hope I answered the question.
You more than answered this. You butchered it.
Okay.
Pray. All right. Thank you so much, Dayo. That was really, really inspiring. You need to do your due diligence. I'm sure almost all the panelists have mentioned that today. Some people will just say, Karen, point me to the right opportunities for grad school. Call it work. People will just say, how do I call it work? You need to do your due diligence, know the question you want to ask, and ask directly, right? Doing due diligence is important because even some schools in the US, you can't do PhD straight for some programs, right? For instance, petroleum engineering in most schools, you can't do your PhD straight. You have to do MSc, then PhD. Some schools like Texas Tech, they will allow you to do your PhD straight. So do your due diligence and know what you need. Now, still speaking on finding the right school, I will call on Chisungs this time around. Please tell us, how did you find the right school? Let me share my screen briefly so you'll see what I'm talking about. All right, so how did you find the right school? Was it funding? Chisungs, are you there?
Yes, yeah.
Was it funding? Was it your advisor? Was it the ranking? For Dayo's story now, we knew he already made tangible progress with his advisor, and he said, money don't land, off we move. But how was your story? Was it funding, advisor? Was it the ranking of the school? What influenced the schools you even applied to? Because I know for those of us that wrote GRE, you can apply to 4 schools, right? As at the time you write your GRE. So what influenced that decision? Did you land up in those schools at the end of the day? Why did you choose those schools? And what finally decided where you are now?
Okay, so for me, funding was a major factor. I didn't want to burden my parents anymore. Like, I wanted to break free, basically. Then another factor was, yeah, so funding was a very huge factor. And I did my research and found out that most schools that accepted students for PhD um, offered full fundings for their students. So for me, that was trying to apply for chemistry. So initially, I was stuck between going for a master's in public health or going for my PhD in chemistry. It was like, which of them should I go for, basically? But so I applied to a university in Canada, and like Dio mentioned, you need to have a professor willing to work with you before, you can be admitted. And I would say that someone told me to apply, but I didn't think I don't know what happened. Maybe she didn't have enough funding, or she found some other applicants or something. But at the end of the day, I was not admitted to the University of Alberta, I guess. Yes, that was the school. So now I had an Excel sheet of about 70 schools. That was my starting point, basically. So I had highly ranked schools, average schools, and safe schools. I'm going to explain each of these. So highly ranked schools are basically schools that are in the top tier, basically. And when I tried to go through what the schools needed, I saw that most of them needed the chemistry subject test. And like I mentioned, I was working full time in the bank at some point, and then at some other point I was a salesperson. I was all over the field, so I didn't have the whole time to sit down and prepare for my GRE and also prepare for my GRE subject test. So I just ruled out schools that required the subject test. So that left me with a reduced amount of schools on my Excel sheet. So what was my Excel sheet like? It had the school's name, the GRE requirements, the TOEFL requirements, the school's ranking, if they had funding, what else? The documents that were required. So SOP stands for Statement of Purpose. Then if they needed letters of reference, if they needed my official transcript from my undergrad uni to give me admission, or if they just needed the unofficial till I was granted admission before I submit the official one. So like you need to have some sort of tracking pad. This helps you to keep track of everything that you're doing, because the whole process can be overwhelming. So having like a visual board that helps you to see what you're doing is very essential. So from my list of 40 schools, after ruling out most of the schools that needed subject tests, I went to write my GRE exam, and I got, I think, 308 or so. It was less than 310, but above 300. And then I noticed that from my score, I was able to remove more schools from my list because some schools said that the minimum requirement was 315 or something, and I didn't have enough money to be paying for fees everywhere, so I had to be strategic with my planning, basically. So from that, I was able to reduce the schools again to schools that didn't have that strict score of maybe 315 and above, basically. So now I was left to, I think, about 10 schools. Now, of these 10 schools, some needed TOEFL and some didn't. I ruled out schools that needed TOEFL and stuck with the ones that didn't, right? So I think I had LSU on my list and a couple of other schools. And this might sound really funny, but I liked LSU because of the purple and gold color. I know, weird, right? And I also tried to look at, the research that was ongoing in the chemistry department, and I found a professor that I wanted to work with. So it's not just enough that the school is, colorful or it is well known. You have to ensure that whatever research that you're going for, you actually love it. I mean, going for a PhD is about 4 to 5 years of your life, or even more. You wouldn't want to be stuck doing something that you don't like, or something that you don't see yourself, going to have a flair for. Yes, we want to leave Nigeria. We want to make our own selves better. But you don't want to jump from frying pan to fire, basically, as they'll say. So you have to be sure of the research that you're going for. Is this something that you really want to do? Do you understand it? Have you done your own research? Do you know what this needs from you in the long run? Do you need to learn any programming languages that will help you to have better data analysis? How can you seek help? Who are those in this field already? Can you reach out to any of them? LinkedIn is a very good resource. Having friends from your undergrad who are already on the same path. Twitter, there are a myriad of, networking sites that can help you to have good information. And like I said, the alumni list also is another gold mine, basically. So when I applied to LSU, I was able to find two people that were already at LSU from my GRE group. Like, someone linked me up with them. So even when I had issues with my TOEFL score, with my GRE, with my transcript getting to them, like the physical copy, I had someone in the school help me go to the graduate office to ask questions, because I was trying to reach them from Nigeria, but I couldn't get through to them. So I would say for me, I just went with the research. That was the major thing. I needed to be sure that the research that was going on in the school were things that I was interested in, basically. So you really have to love the research. It's going to be 4 or 5 years of your life, and it's so different from the undergrad, in the sense that, yes, there are milestones for you to reach at every point, but you are the major person driving yourself, and you can't drive yourself if you don't love what you're doing. So you need to like what you're doing to some extent and be informed about it. So that was the major thing about picking a school for me. And that Excel sheet helped me to track so I don't miss out on anything. Now, some schools need you to have your official transcript before you can be granted admission. So you have to arrange how you're going to get that before you go for the before you apply, so that not when you're so close, it will be that it's the transcript that is keeping you. Unilag, on one hand, they actually wasted my time. I mean, if you check Twitter and all, you can see stories about people complaining. Like, I literally had to keep taking time off work to always go and beg them, please. The woman told me, go home and pray. What am I praying for? You're just meant to send this for me. Like, why are you wasting so much time? And she told me, just go and pray. And she's the one in charge. So how can you be telling me to go home and pray? And even after praying and doing everything, she still sent it the wrong way. So I got in through a diploma program, and she only sent the one from my second year to my final year. So what happened to my first year? I had to do the whole process all over again. So you have to start all these things early enough so that you don't have something, making you feel sad along the line. And if you're in the undergrad now, it would be good for you to build a very good relationship with your professors. When it was time for me to ask for letters of reference, I believe that while I was in school, I had a very good relationship with most of my chemistry professors. So I had like 6 people willing to write for me. So when I'm applying to a particular school, I just check who will be good on this list to help me write a letter here, and I pick. So I wasn't, bothering a particular person throughout. I was able to shuffle and work between like different people. And even if you don't have any, and you are done with your undergrad, all hope is not lost. You can start now, go to school, say hi, go to their offices, just want to know how they're doing, try to reach out, let them know you. Because like everyone has been saying, having a generic application doesn't really strengthen your portfolio. You need someone who knows you. You need someone who can say, oh, when she took this class, or when he took that class, he or she did this or did that. Like someone, it just needs to be heartfelt somehow. So yeah, that's it for me.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much, Jason. That was really insightful. I remember in school, my lecturers used to make a joke that if you're not active in school, when it's time for a recommendation letter, they will ask you to send your request with a picture so they can know who is asking the question because they don't know you in school. That was really insightful. Thank you so much. Next, we are going to move on to choosing and contacting the right professors. But before we do that, a couple of people have asked in the chat for your spreadsheets. Chisom, do you have access to it? You're muted.
I can look for it before the end of this session and just share it briefly.
Yeah, you could share at the end of the session, but then I have mine on my system. So if you can't find that, I can just share mine. I'll get back to you at the end of the session. All right, guys. So we're more than halfway done. I'm excited. We're moving on to the last segment of this call. And right now, I'll be calling on Oyin. Oyin, let me call you before I say the question, so I will not put you on the spot again. So I want you to, Oyin, are you there? I can't see your pretty face.
I'm here.
Okay, nice. You know, when I first got to know man, everybody used to tell me that I reminded Oyin. So I was really looking forward to meet her, I was really looking forward to meet her. And then when I found out, I'm like, oh my God. All right. So I want you to help us talk on choosing and contacting professors. How do we go about it? Antonia has mentioned, Chisom has mentioned sending emails. D1 has mentioned how he attached one or two. He even gave us the tactic today of backing it up, reinforcing it with the admission letter. If you get admission, I did that one very well. Oh, as I got admission, I did not get funding. Another blast of mail trail. So then I also want you to, and that's because I know you have insights on this, discuss with us on securing funding. For those of you that want the recording, I'll upload it to my YouTube channel and I'll send the link to everybody, and all the materials mentioned here I can get. I have a Google Drive where I have some things too. I'll send everything as an email to you. Just send me an email. I'll type my email address. Don't send me the email here. Send me a personal email. I'll reply you with all the links you need. I'll also drop it on the WhatsApp group if you're on the WhatsApp group. If you're not on the WhatsApp group, just send me an email. I'll send you the link to the WhatsApp group as a response as well. Don't worry, we got your back. We got you. All right. So also talk on securing funding. Full, partial. I've seen some people, they have partial funding and they are not willing to push forward. What is your take on it? Is there a difference between scholarship, assistantship, fellowship? Are there different requirements? Which one do you think is more common? So just from contacting, I'm not even sharing my screen. Let me share it so you see what I'm saying. So just from contacting professors, that's the second year, and then securing, just let us know, your take on it so we can learn from your bank of wealth.
Thank you, Karen. I don't know. We're bringing normal behavior here. Oh my goodness. It's always such a joy to talk about this. I believe strongly in contacting professors. Anybody who has talked to me about applying for a PhD, that's the first thing I say. Have you emailed the professor? I'm not even going to ask you about your GRE first, because like Daya was saying, if you have emailed the professor and the professor wants you, nothing, I mean, God matters, but almost nothing else matters. Because if a professor wants you, they will do almost anything, to get you and to waive all those other things for you. So how do you contact a professor? You have to contact a professor by reading. I know everybody will be like, oh, I'm saying reading, but reading is important. I don't know how to emphasize going on websites, if you found a school you want to go to, you can't just send your application out like that. You need to go to the website and go to the people. So I remember what I did I only applied to 2 schools. I'm a very interesting person, which is why I said God is very important for me. I wanted to go to the University of Oklahoma, and I put in everything I wanted, and I wanted to work with that professor. So what did I do when I found the professor I wanted to work with? I went and I read every professor's profile, and then I found this one who was working on Africa. There were actually 2 I found initially, and then I started thinking who's better. Then I went to read their articles. I actually downloaded their articles and read what they wrote. I read their blog post. I became a stalker. I read almost everything they had written, because I wanted to to see if I was a good fit. Like Chisom was saying, a PhD is a long process. And it's easy for you to want to say, well, I want to leave Nigeria, but I promise you that grad school will humble you. When you see when your courses come first, you'll be like, who sent me? Why? I don't think there's anybody here who has done a PhD who hasn't asked themselves, why did I do this to myself? Shouldn't I just have sat at home and just be enjoying myself? You ask yourself that, because it's a lot of work. So you have to find a professor you're willing to work. So after I read her, Dr. Bassi's post, I read everything about her. I read her book. I knew she had worked on Africa. I knew she had worked, in Ghana. I knew she had lived in Ghana. I knew she had lived in Togo. And that was the problem for me, because I wanted to study in the US, but like I said earlier, I still wanted somebody who worked on Africa. Once I found, I was like, because it was a very rare find. So I knew that this was the person I wanted to work with. Now, it now became couching my email. Now, one of the things that you need to include in an email, like I always tell people, is that you have to include what the person does. You have to make reference to what the person has done. You have to show that you have read the person's work. Now, not only that, you have to show how the person's work ties to your interests, and maybe a little bit of what you have done. You have to find that bridge, to merge both of them together. So I started by saying, oh, my name is this, I graduated from this. I have done this, I have done this, and so research in this. I studied this and this and this. Now, your blog post of 2015, something, reference this. And I find you have to also cite the person, because you can't just go and talk about the person's work and now paint the work as if the work is boring. You paint the work as if, the person is doing a good job, And then I said your blog post of this said this, and I believe that this is how my work fits into this. And I just try to find a way to find a nexus between my work and the person's work, and it worked. And she replied me, she was like, I will look out for your application, and I'll be willing to work with you. And because I wanted to go to that school, I applied to another school. I mean, I did send out emails to that school, but this was my focus. Like, I know that everybody is different, which is why I said that, like, and I'm glad that when I saw the disclaimer, I was very happy that we're not setting, nobody's giving you like a one-size-fits-all rule here. You still have to do eventually. You have to do what works for you. I remember when I was applying to schools, people told me that, how will you apply to only 2 schools in the US? You can never get in. You won't get in. It's not possible. I understand that it's better to apply to more, but I wanted to go to one school, and I was willing to. I read so much that I was willing to convince that professor that, look, you need to get me on board. And eventually, she accepted me on board, and I still work with her today, and I have absolutely no regrets. Like, it's such a refreshing experience to see somebody who is actually interested, in the work that I do. Now, to funding. I also had it very interesting with funding. I got my admission letter now, and they said I was on the waiting list for funding. I was very happy that I had waiting list. Like me, I didn't even know that waiting list meant they had given other people funding, and if they don't accept, then they'll come back to you. I thought that waiting list meant they would distribute the funding after, And so somewhere in my mind, I sat down and I was comfortable. But something just said, I'm pretty sure it was, but something just said, you have to ask questions. I just said, look, I can't just sit down here. I went to send an email to the graduate coordinator that, please, I want more clarification about what is this. And the thing about it is that, you know, our culture in Africa or in Nigeria, you are always scared of asking questions. You're always afraid that, like, if I ask, I hope I don't want to annoy anybody. Please, it is the opposite here. Ask. Look, ask it. What is the worst they'll tell you? They'll not answer you, but they will not reply your email. But ask as many questions as you want. If you don't understand anything, I'm sure that professor knew me. I sent her emails at every time, and I'm pretty sure because of time difference, it was coming in at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. I was just sending, and I just kept on sending the emails and sending the emails and sending emails. She now eventually told me that, oh, I was on the waiting list. I was like, that's when my heart now dropped. I now knew that, like everybody has said, I went to go into prayer and fasting that God, you know. And then my case is a little bit different, and I don't know, just for the reference of people who might also be in this case. My husband is also currently here on a PhD and is in the University of Oklahoma. So both of us are in the same school. We're fully funded in the same school. I know that is it's a rare find. Most people don't get that. But we both knew that. So my husband got his admission before me, you know, and he was admitted to the University of Oklahoma. I always wanted to do a PhD. So I was not doing a PhD because my husband was doing a PhD. I want to put that out. I always wanted to do a PhD, but we also wanted to be together. So I knew that I needed to go to the University of Oklahoma, and I was also lucky to find a professor there. So I was like, I need to do everything I can to work on my University of Oklahoma application to strengthen it so I can have a chance, you know, to get there. Now there was no funding. The funding was not there. She told me that she's sorry, there's nothing they can do about it. Everybody accepted. I sat down. I got up again. I sent her another email. Is there anything you can do for me? Do you have partial funding? Do you have anything? Do you have a link to a scholarship? Do you have something? Do you have any this, any that? She was like, oh, she's sorry, there's nothing. I said, I will take anything you have, like anything you have to. And I'm pretty sure she just saw that this girl just wanted to come here. And I wasn't embarrassed because I don't know. I think one of the things that makes us is like, maybe, oh, you're ashamed. There's nothing to be ashamed of. There's absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. You are within your right, you know, to ask the right questions. I eventually sent her another email, and then she said, oh, there's nothing I can do, but I found this opportunity and you can apply for it. You know, it's fully funded, and, you know, try your luck. You never know, you get it. So it's another, you know, graduate research assistantship, but it was with the graduate college of the university. Then I took it and then I applied. I did the interview, but what did I do when I was applying for that graduate assistantship? I had to go and read about the department. Now, remember, I was a sociology student. I always say my case is different because I'm not funded by the sociology department. I'm funded by the graduate college of my university. And it's a full scholarship, it's a full tuition, it's full everything, like it's health insurance, everything is included. Now, I had to go and read about the graduate college of the university and find out how my sociology degree is relevant and the research I have done is relevant, you know, for that position. I eventually applied and then I got the job. I got the funding in June, you can imagine, and
wow.
School was supposed to resume in August. So yes, I got it quite late, but I eventually got it. And then I took it to the, you know, to apply for the visa, and I eventually got here. It was when I got here that I now discovered how steep what I applied for was. You know, I just thought it was only me. I didn't even know that there were plenty of people who applied for the job I was applying for. I thought it was only me. But when I got here, I realized how steep, you know, it was. But my current boss said one of the things that set me apart that I had read about the department. They didn't have a lot of people who had done that. Nobody was reading, everybody was just coming to say, you know, that. But because I had read about the department, that made a difference and I was able to get that funding. So here is it, don't give up. Ask questions, and ask questions again. Don't be discouraged, just keep asking your detailed questions. And try a wide, like most people don't know that most people think it's only your department that can fund you in school. No, there are several other opportunities to get assistantships. There are assistantships from athletics, there are assistantships from your university counseling services, there are assistantships from your university's graduate college. There are alternative means of funding apart from your department. Even though right now, like I'm also now funded, you know, partially with my department. My department, you know, I'm on a research assistantship with them. But to get in, try, expand your net. Thank you.
Expand your net. Please, I hope we are listening and taking notes. I said this story the last time. One of my mentors, when I told her, I'll do this, or I'll do this, or I'll do. She said, Karen, when you're in this life, there is no, it's not, you know, when you're writing exam, you say you can answer number 4 or number 5, you know, and for those of us that program, if once you say, oh, you're carrying, you know, no, this is either, there's not either or, it is attempt all. You know, try to do everything you can do. You don't know the one that will work out, right? So thank you very much, Oyi, for that insightful story. I mean, I have just been on cruise since this panel session started. I don't know about the participants, right? Thank you so much, and thank you for sharing that with us. That was very honest and truthful. All right, so yeah, somebody said your take from the story is resilience. Resilience is very important though. It's very, because even after you enter, you still have to, okay, we'll get there. All right. So I just want to share my screen now. We are going to be moving to the last stage of this
Can I say something, please,
Yeah,
Karen?
please.
Okay, so I think someone was asking about how my emails were. So for me, most of the schools in the US that I applied to for my PhD in chemistry, most schools, what they do is when you come in your first year, you just take classes across board, like across the different areas of chemistry. So there's the organic, inorganic, analytical, physical, and macro chemistry, basically. So when you take classes in this whole field, it will help you to pick which one suits you the best. So I didn't join any group until the spring of my first year. So the first semester is basically for rotation. And like I mentioned, I sent out emails to various professors trying to explain how I like their research and how I feel it would be a good fit for me, just like everything that mentioned. But I didn't end up working with people that I thought were the best fit for me, because when I got to work in their labs during that rotation period, I noticed that I didn't really like this. And like I said, a PhD is for 4 to 5 years or more. So I wouldn't want to be stuck in something that I didn't really fancy. So I would say if you're in STEM, mostly chemistry, and I think physics too does the same thing, and chemical engineering from my knowledge. Just try to apply to a school, look for a department that you love, say like 3 or 4 people's research. And when you get there and you have your rotations and you take classes, your mind will be open to more things. For example, chemistry in Nigeria in Unilag, we didn't really have so much hands-on practicals to open my mind to a lot of things. But coming here and taking classes and going to their labs to see what they were doing, I was able to make a more informed decision. And I'm so happy about the lab that I joined today. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that insight, Antonia. So, please, can anybody confirm if they can see my screen?
Sure.
Okay. So we're in the last phase of this presentation. We're in the last phase of this presentation, after which we'll attempt to address all the questions that have not been addressed in the chat section. And that is the application, basically. And for the first presentation, I'll be calling on Rita. So can you just put us through, well, I think we flogged it a lot in this presentation already, but basically the required documents, right? So some of us normally hear that you need a research proposal. I think that you need statement of purpose, which is SOP. You still need research proposal. You still need writing sample. And even for some masters, my school asks for a writing sample. So like, what are the necessary documents you think, you know, people on this meeting that have not started preparing should start preparing for to get ready for the exams?
All right, so I'm sure all of you listened to what Chisom said. She had a spreadsheet. So for each school, just try to document what are their requirements, and it will differ for each school, more or less. But what is going to be constant all through? They would ask for a CV or resume. They will ask for your statement of purpose, which is SOP. They would also want to see your transcript and recommendation letters. Okay. And so I'm going to talk about this four before I move to the other, things that we see depending on the school. And let me start with your recommendation letters. Recommendation letters should come from people that can speak for you, so that the message is consistent across all the people that are going to be writing about you. Not someone that will say, I knew her for 4 months and she was like this, she was like that. No, the message has to be consistent, and they should understand that, look, you're going for an academic pursuit. And so it's supposed to highlight your strengths in academia. Okay. Now, how do you get somebody to even write you this recommendation letter? You also need to have started demonstrating that good behavior that you want them to put in the recommendation letter. So if you're still in school right now, please just be good to your professors, because you're moving from academia to academia, and it's only someone in academia that can vouch for your academic performance. Then there will still be other parts of you that will contribute towards the recommendation letter. In my case, because I worked, somebody that I have worked with could write a recommendation letter for me, but should also highlight my technical skills and my technical strengths that would enable them know that I can perform in the area of research. So please, for your recommendation letters, try to just put in your mind people who might be potential to write your recommendation letters, and just be on their good books with them. Okay. The other thing is the SOP. Now, these people may not have seen you. The people in the committee that are going to be selecting you may not have seen you. So you are in a pool of 100, some cases 2,000, depending on the school, applicants. You want to stand out and you want to shine. So first of all, who you are needs to come out in your SOP. And if you need people to, like myself, I try to be very humble. I don't want to talk about myself and all those things. Let somebody else tell you this is who you are, because it's a competition, right? If this person says this one is hot head, this one is like this one is like that, that is the person, that is the only information that they have to use to make a judgment. So please, we prepare your SOP, put out your strengths. Secondly, tie your goals and aspiration with the university you're planning to. I know I've initially said it, don't do something generic. I applied to previous schools. I wanted to do research in an area that they didn't have. I applied to 3 schools that did not have anything related to the area that I wanted to do research. Is it not just automatic that they would reject me? Because there's no professor that is going to advise me or provide supervision for what I want to do. So it was just a waste of time and money, just applying to a school that it doesn't align with my own research and interest. So please do your homework well. If even as much as you want to leave the country, you want to go to a particular university, if they do not do what you're interested in, don't bother applying. But on the other hand, if you see that they have funding for something that you can learn, please just help yourself, because funding is very important. The cost here is different. The cost here, tuition and how just living expenses is something else. So if you see something that you can manage and you can develop interest in, and of course, most of these universities, the areas of interest or of research that they're focusing on are the things that are relevant to the industry, right? Maybe you may not know. I remember speaking to somebody before I came, and he was telling me nanotechnology. I was like, what is this nanotechnology? But by the time I got here, I realized that a lot of people were focused on nanotechnology. So if that is what they are doing, I think I'm having challenges with my internet, so please bear with me. So if it's something that is current, even if you did not know about it, but it's current and that is where you have funding, you may want to consider it, and maybe in the end you might like it. But this is not to contradict what Chisom has said in terms of this is 4 years you're going to spend, minimum of 4 years, you're going to be spending your life doing something. You need to have some passion for it, okay? What else should be your SOP, your statement of purpose, things like that demonstrate your soft skills, because it's not only your technical skills they are looking out for. They also need to see, are you a good team player? Are you a good leader? Are you good in organization? Are you good in sports? You know, so all those other things that may not necessarily be technical, but can set you apart, please include it in your statement of purpose. This is not a time to be humble, but if you position yourself with too much pride inside the SOP, they may also not, they're like, okay, you don't need us, we don't need you, okay? But don't sell yourself short. Don't sell yourself short in your SOP. Give everything that you are and align it with the core values of the department and school that you want to go for. Then, and of course, find out from people what's inside there. Insider information is more powerful than anything. Somebody inside can tell you, so professor has funding for this kind of project, and this is what they're looking for. Put your SOP in that direction. The other thing that I will talk about in terms is your CV. And what goes into your CV is your experience and your publication, and there may be some volunteering experience. I don't know if there's any other thing we include in our CV. So if you don't have work experience, it means you have to do something in terms of the area of publication and the area of volunteerism, or you know, that you show that you develop skills outside of technical skills. So all the things that are going to, you do not need to have 10 pages, 40 pages CV or resume. 1 or 2 pages is enough, as long as it's able to highlight what they are looking for. Okay, so you put it in there. I was really daunted when I looked at the SOPs of people that had applied to Stanford. Oh, my research won this grant and it did this and it did that. And, you know, just looking at that thing, there was this syndrome of, in fact, don't even bother applying, but you just don't know what they are looking for. So if you find out that you're weak in one area, just develop the other areas, what you can develop between the time frame that you have. Now, certain universities will request for things like, okay, so before I just go there, the transcript, we all know the transcript is very important. I think now what some schools do is they will ask you for a non-official transcript, and then when they eventually take you, they can ask for the official one to be sent, and they're finding other ways of, you know, making that process smooth. So I wouldn't say too much, but I'll say don't be hindered by your grades. As you have seen, many of us here, we have varied grades that we come out with. The main thing is that you note that there is a shortcoming and you are doing something to overcome that shortcoming. I can tell you that schooling in Nigeria is quite tough, and that you did not make a first class does not mean you're not a first class material. Sometimes it could just be victimization that is your issue. So don't feel because I didn't make it. If you find yourself in that situation where you've been affected, don't dwell on it. Just move on and try to resolve the issue. What can you do to make your situation much better? Now, some schools will ask for a research proposal. It's one way for you to demonstrate that you can even write something. You may not necessarily be hitting the nail on the head, but you have what you want to demonstrate that you can gather material, you can read, and the professor whom you want to work with, you have even read their papers and articles and know their area of research. I can tell you that by the time you come in and you start your PhD, you may not even do anything that you put in. Use it as an opportunity to demonstrate. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So you use that research proposal to demonstrate your abilities as someone in academia. Some may also ask for a writing sample, and that's why I would say, as you're graduating or once you finish graduating, try to get at least a paper, push it to a conference or a journal, so that if you're asked for a writing sample, you have something to show. The expectation is not too much, believe me. They don't expect too much, because how many years have you spent in school, that they are not expecting you to have 10 or 20. But if you can do something, please do it. I wish I had the opportunity to have this kind of panel when I was planning to go towards my postgraduate studies. If I did, it would have made a lot of difference. It would have saved me money that I wasted in applying to different schools, and I would have just been focused. So if you're listening to this, please take advantage of all the nuggets that people have done, while understanding that everybody's situation is different, the way it works. Okay. I don't know if there's anything else you would like me to touch on in terms of documents for application. When I came in, I did my research in geothermal energy. I have zero experience, or I had zero experience in geothermal energy before I joined. And I told the professor that, look, I have zero experience. But one of the things that I can assure you is, if you teach me, I will learn. And he said, the reason why you're here or why you're coming here is for you to learn. So you may not necessarily have all it takes, but these people are human beings, the professors and all that, and they understand your shortcomings. So they will be able to guide you through. And at the end of the day, you become an expert from something that you just didn't know anything about. All right. So I'll pause here, and Karen, you can take it up from there.
Karen, I just wanted to add something to what Rita said, just in 1 minute. Is that okay? Yeah. Like what Rita said about admitting your shortcomings. When I came in here, like sociology here is heavily quantitative. Like that means we do quantitative, we do like Stata, we do like SAS, we do Python and all those things. But back home, sociology was very qualitative, and I made sure I was very sincere. Like, I don't know, I can't. Like I'm extremely good at qualitative research, but I'm not good. And like Rita was saying, they taught me, and now, in fact, even sometimes I'm surprised at how I'm doing this thing. So like, be sincere and just let them know that you are willing to learn. Because if you then tell them that you can do something and then you get in and you can't, it's a problem.
Okay. Thank you very much, Oyi, for that addition. Very, very profound. We are going to move on to the next segment, which is standardized exams. And Dayo, we need your insights here. So GRE, TOEFL, IELTS, GMAT.
Your audio.
Do you have any? Dayo, do you have any?
Karen, you're breaking up.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay.
we can hear you now.
Yeah, for my network. Okay, so I said we are going to move on to standardized tests, right? I just wanted to share any tips or nuggets you have with us. We are kind of short on time. GRE, TOEFL, IELTS, just,
Okay, for me, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, you, Dayo.
Okay, yeah, if you are looking for it, I always tell you, and I would like to debunk this myth that some schools accept IELTS, some people don't accept TOEFL, some people. I always trust anybody. I've done TOEFL, I've done IELTS. Personally, I prefer TOEFL. Personally, I prefer TOEFL. I would say you can write IELTS if you have if you're applying for Canada immigration stuff. Then you can write IELTS. Some people still prefer IELTS, but I don't like when people say some schools only like IELTS, they don't take TOEFL. I have not seen personally a school that says that writes specifically that we don't take TOEFL, we only take IELTS. They will only say we will take IELTS or its equivalent. That's what people don't read. Or its equivalent can be TOEFL. In KFPM, when I went to Saudi, the official thing they wrote was TOEFL, but I had IELTS. They didn't even say anything. I just got to the school. I just went to go and meet the grad coordinator. Order. I wrote IELTS. This is my score, and they accepted it. So either IELTS or TOEFL is fine. That's fine. For GRE, you may write it if you want US by force by fire, I recommend that you write GRE. Not because if you don't write GRE, miracle cannot happen, but because of your chances, to boost your chances. Personally, I don't like GRE. I wrote that exam. I don't like that exam. And I passed it, but I did not use it for my PhD admission in Canada because it was not a requirement. Some schools too in Canada require GRE, very little schools, but most schools do not, require that exam. So I would say that for TOEFL, for GRE, write your exams. If you pass it, fine. If you don't pass it, that's not the end of the world. It does not mean that you cannot compensate it with other things. So if anybody asks me this question, which one should I write first? My answer to you is, which country is your choice? If you are looking for just any country, just want to jack out of Nigeria, go write TOEFL first. Because TOEFL or IELTS is usually accepted almost anywhere in the world. But if you now want to streamline your options, over me, I want to just face US, then go and write TOEFL, and GRE is as simple as that. So that's just what I'll just say about the exams. And make sure you check the requirements from the school. Some requirements for TOEFL will say we need 90, 80, and all of that. And by the way, TOEFL is easy to pass. That's the truth. If you can just practice, you need just 3-4 weeks of practice to ace TOEFL. For GRE, you need 3 months plus, especially as a beginner. Even that 3 months, I'm not sure it's enough. So that's just it for GRE anyway. So yeah, 3 months. Thank you, Rita. 3 months minimum. The dedicated. That was dedicated. That means your time must be constant. It has to be constant. If it's not constant, increase 3 months. And by the way, for the GRE Verbal, I posted something that I used. I used a trick. Where's my do that? You can check it. You can check what I wrote there about it. Because of the big grammar that you have to cram, I developed a rule and it worked actually. Although I did not use the result, but that's what I did. Thank you. I hope I answered the question.
Yes, you did. You did. Thank you. So thank you very much for that. For those of us that want more insights on the exam, go and watch the recording of the last session. The last session was just for masters, so we were not talking about research and like all these big organs here. So our own problem was GRE, the exams, how to prepare, your SOP. So we delved greatly on those topics. So you can go and watch that recording if you're interested. For now, just know it is a requirement, and it's still a requirement, even if it's PhD you're doing, and you still have to get a good score, right? So just keep pushing. Not the last thing. So the next thing I want to talk on is application timelines. Rita and Dio has kind of given us a hint. You're writing GRE 3 months, you calculate. You're writing IELTS 1 month preparation, you have to calculate where to get your passport. Chisung let us know about her transcript, the challenges she had. And if you notice, even Oyi and Chisung refer to the fact that their funding came a little bit late and it affected everything. So timing is very important in this application process. Remember, Dayo mentioned something. It is a game of time, chance, and opportunities. Even if you're great, right? You're good, you have a good profile. If timing doesn't work well for you, you might find yourself being flustered by the process. So I'll just want Chisom to briefly talk us through on timelines and also use this opportunity to share her almighty spreadsheets with us. So Chisom, over to you. Let me make you a co-host so you can share. All right. Chisom, are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
all right.
Okay. So can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so ignore this wise one's commentary. Okay, so this is from 2019. I couldn't find the most recent one, but it's the same. So it's the skeletal framework of everything, basically. Here we have the names of schools. Here, so I use the US News to rank my schools. This idea was given to me by a colleague of mine from my undergrad. So then I had the GRE score requirement, TOEFL score requirement. So let me just talk with the University of Florida. So according to the US News at the time, they were ranked as number 41 for chemistry. So the US News website, when you click on the US News website, it takes you to some homepage. Then you click on education, then grad school, and you navigate and put in the course you want to go for. And if the course is also streamlined, like for me, it's not just chemistry, but there's analytical chemistry. So when you put in all these details, you basically have to see how schools are ranked for your choice course, basically. Then for the GRE score, you have to know if the school requires GRE, and if they do, what is the minimum score. So as we can see here for FSU, which is Florida State University, they required a minimum of 150 for the verbal and 155 for the. Then for phone, you have to know if they require it or if they are waiving it. So there's this clause that some schools would say it's not required if you got your master's or if you spent up to 2 years in America or a country which has English as its first language. So if you've maybe gotten a master's or something from Canada or UK or America, I want to believe that you fall under that umbrella of an EDNA because you've been in a country that speaks English as its language. But if not, if you're from Nigeria, is not really considered as such. Although on some schools' websites, there's another link that helps you to see the countries for this bracket, and in those countries, the universities that are recognized. So if you probe further into every school, you find more information. Then I also had application fees, and there are some schools that do not actually have application fees too. Then I had other requirements. So you need to know, do they need your research proposal? Do they need letters of recommendation? Do they need your CV or your resume? Like what exactly? So you need to be sure what every school wants. You need to, another thing that is very important is the application deadline. You need to be sure when the deadline for application is. So they have, generally speaking, they have two application deadlines. One is for internationals and the other is for domestic students. So the one for internationals is usually earlier than the one for domestic students. And I believe this is to give them ample time to ask you for any additional thing that they might need to consider you for admission. Then you need to know what is the funding like. So like I said, for chemistry, most of the schools said once I was admitted, I would be fully funded. So here, funding available but limited. Yes. Another thing is application. Like, so some people say admission is given on a rolling basis. That means that as you apply, they review immediately and they give you admission or they decline, basically. And some other schools say they will wait maybe after the deadline and they review everyone. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Okay. Then some
Go ahead.
people say after the deadline, they would review everyone who has submitted and then send out decisions. So you need to be sure. What is your school doing? Are they doing the first case where it's like if first come first serve basis? If that is the case, you have to hurry up. You have to be fast to drop everything that they need. The letters of recommendations, the SOP, the unofficial transcripts, if that is what they want. And this is your best friend at every university, the graduate coordinator. Like Christmas, they send them Christmas message. Any American holiday, just to wish you well. Just let them know that you're there. So for me, when it was time for the TOEFL thing, I didn't even know that I needed to present a TOEFL results. But I was already friends with our graduate coordinator here at LSU, and she's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry for not reaching out to you earlier. We can hold your admission. The deadline is actually passed, but because of I've been talking to you since, we can extend it for you for the next." I think she said a month. So I had an extra month, which is not on their website. Right, because I was always talking to her basically. So you have to be in communication with your grad card or any alumni. Behave like you're already in school. See yourself there. Have connections in the school somehow. Then you have to know, okay, do they fund just masters or do they fund PhDs and masters? What is the limit of the funding and things like that? So this is just mine, but I believe if you, once you start the whole process, you will see that you might need to add a few more columns to help you track other things. But this was what I used for mine then. Yeah. Then for the timelines that Karen mentioned, I don't believe in saying if you study for 3 months, you will be fine. I studied for almost 6 months actually. And when we say dedicated, I mean people grasp things differently. I might need a month. I know people that read for like a month or two and they were fine. Some people read for 3 months, 4 months, but you just have to know your own self. So I'll say the best way to start is to take the GRE, GRE quant and verbal and writing test, the one on the, what's that website called? The official ETS
ETS, yeah.
website. Yeah. So
Yeah.
take that exam first. It's going to be like a diagnostic test to tell you where you are. So from your results, you can know where you're lacking. And then there's so many GRE resources out there. You can use any of them to know how you want to, develop yourself in a particular field. So for me, my major issue with the GRE was the verbal. Like it's like there were some classes I'm like, which of these strengthen the argument? Now I understand all these things, but then I'm like, strengthen, weaken. What are these people saying? So you need time to understand all these things. You need to give yourself ample time. So I'll say if you want to apply for next session, which is the 2022 fall, now is a good time to start reading because application opens by September. And I mean, this is already July, so you have like 2 months. And some schools do the first come, first serve basis. So if you want to do it, like make up your mind, stop pushing it forward. Start now. Take your first test, see your results, know what you're lacking in, if it's time that you need, if you're not good with the time. So you can be smart enough to know all the answers to these questions. But the GRE is not just all about being smart. It's about how fast can you be? How well can you cope under pressure? On the day of my exam, at some point I was fed up. Like I wanted to just get up and go home because I was tired. 4 hours of exam. But you would need to train yourself to be able to cope for long exam hours. You need to train yourself to be able to read and understand the first time because there is no time basically. It's an exam that lasts for a very long period of time, but time is not even enough. And you're going to get like burned out halfway or something. So practicing with that ETS official thing on the website for the long duration of 4 hours. Maybe you might want to do it on a Friday night or Saturday night and tell yourself, I'm not going to wake up too early tomorrow. I need to do this night. Start by 8, turn off your phone, be disciplined. From 8 to 12, take the full length test. See what your grade is like. When you read, come back again, take another test, see if you've made progress. If you're making progress, great. If you're not, see where you're lacking and know who can help you. And then before the exams, at least try to take that test like 3 times minimum. More is even better. So that on the day of the exam, you've already done the simulation. So you know what to expect, basically. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chisum. Thank you so much for sharing that story. Regarding graduate coordinator, it's really important. I mean, people don't emphasize that enough. I think people just tell you need to contact professors, but you also need to contact your graduate coordinators. I'll say this because I like sharing my experience. I did not come in through a professor, right? I came in through the graduate coordinator, and my school, the GRE, I didn't meet the minimum requirements, but I did not want to write GRE. In short, I did not have the time because I started preparing late. I started preparing for GRE 1st of September, and I had to write my exam 1st of October in order, because I still had to write IELTS and turn in my applications before December 15th. So I didn't have the luxury of timing like most people because I decided late. So, I had to, it was really thorough for me. I could not write twice. So I almost even gave up. But last week, I just messaged the graduate coordinator the same way I'll message the professor saying, this is my profile. I really want to attend your department. Do you think I have enough? Do you think I have a chance? And she said, yes, she does. I should go ahead and apply. She was not talking to me. I said, sorry, this is what I said is my profile. Are you sure that's I sent her, like 3 times. At the point, she was like, Karen, I said, go ahead and apply, before I went ahead. I don't think a professor would have had that time, to do the back and forth with me. And at the end, I got funding from the department, not the professor. So that's another angle we should talk about. So Rita, you wanted to say something, just can you go ahead?
Okay, briefly on the GRE, I want to corroborate what Chisom said and even what you said. You see, they put this minimum requirement on the website, but there is a lot that goes into the decision process. So again, I would say don't be daunted. The first time when I had finished school as an undergrad and I took GRE, my scores were amazing, but I wasn't interested in going to school then. By the time I came back after 13 years of working to write GRE, it was something else. Like I couldn't even answer up to 10 questions correctly. So I had accuracy problem, then speed problem. So the thing is that we may not always meet the requirement. And a friend told me, okay, just go ahead and apply with the current score that you had. But I knew what I was gunning for, of course. So I had to rewrite my own for that particular case. I could easily have said, okay, I want to go for a school where this would have been an easy piece of cake. And even with the score that I got, when I applied to schools that were, not as high ranking, I was rejected. So that is to tell you that it's not only about GRE scores that they use in making the decision, okay? And again, I know that I had said minimum of 3 months. So why I put that there was because, some people might be working and you don't have that time to go and do it. When I wrote my GRE while working the first time, I just messed up. So I knew that I had to take out time and not rely on the brain, because Chisom has said it, GRE is not measuring how intelligent you are. No, it's testing for other things. And so it is that I used to tell my mentees, it is the trick. They're looking for how are you able to understand the trick behind the question. Once you have understood this trick, then you're able to pass it. I wrote my GRE. I remember I was pregnant. That thing, I said I cannot write it again. Like I almost fainted that day. So it's just trying to do your best that first time. Putting all your effort in the preparation stage. Chisom has said, go through that long process of doing a full test to know what it is. And I feel personally that the ETS sites, their tests are easier than what comes out in the exams.
True, very true.
So after you do it, you're like, I'm perfect, I'm ready. You enter exam hall, you see something different. I don't know what happens. So then we'll find out later. But so please, it may not be sufficient for some people if you've not understood the trick behind how GRE tests are done. It's not a measure of your ordinary intelligence, whether you know how to do partial differential equations or further maths. It is a different thing looking out for, please. Thank you.
And also just to add to that, Rita, I think that even people who calm down, just calming down is very important in this GRE exam. It cannot be overemphasized. It's difficult to calm down, but if you do calm down, you actually get the best of it, because there are tricks to this thing, and that's why I put it in the chat box. Watch YouTube videos. There's this Magoosh, like I was on Magoosh every time. They have these tricks, and these things they say like, oh, these questions come at this point, these questions will come at this point. So use that, and then also use apps. There are resources. I downloaded flashcards for verbal because I know I'm a visual learner. I learn by seeing. So I just downloaded like the flashcards on my phone, and I'll ask my friends. Okay, they'll just take the word and ask me what is precipitation, and they'll say, oh no, you're wrong, and they'll tell me. I was actually doing it with my friends. I was doing it in a very cool way, but I was also still learning because I put my friends in. So download apps, find things that are not really, that are not academic. It's not everything that you will read from the book. Get resources that are outside of the book, to get flashcards, get those kind of things. And again, calm down. It's not easy to calm down, but you need to be calm. You need to know that your GRE is not the definition of your smartness. It's not the definition of anything, but please just calm down. Yeah.
Very true. I agree with you, Oini. And honestly, when we try to prep, when we Chisom was mentioning mock, simulating the exam, so we call them mocks. Personally, I did 8 mocks, and that was what helped me because I had to write my GRE in a month. So all my Saturdays, all my public holidays, I was using them to do mocks. I'll wake up like 4 o'clock in the morning and do the mock, like 4 hours, and then I wake up 5 o'clock in the morning, and then from 10 till like 2, I'm knocked out for the day. Then I resume my day in the afternoon, and I could only do it weekends because of work. So it requires a lot of dedication. And I tell people this story, you need to simulate the exam, because I'm somebody that I never read or do anything with my shoes on, right? I always breathe through my feet. And nobody realizes how important it was. I never really understood until they told me to wear my shoe in the GRE room. I was so upset. I mean, it was the 3rd time they threatened to disqualify me before I had to stick with it. I mean, my feet got sweaty, plus all the times they kept saying, come back, come back. I mean, if I had known something trivial like that would have affected me, I would have been practicing with it from the onset. So if you're simulating the exams, I'll advise people, let it be a real simulation, not the one that maybe you have a cup of tea and you'll be writing there. You cannot do that one though. You cannot do it though. Okay, all right. So let's go to the last question. And Oyi, that question is for you. What is the budget like? Owo ni koko, money is key. I never realized how cost intensive this process was until someone asked me after the meeting last semester, and I started after the meeting last 2 weeks, and I started breaking. I'm like, we spent money, so just give us an estimate of the cost so that people that are getting ready, I almost spoke Igbo now, but I just realized that this is a neutral setting. Yeah. They'll be prepared.
Actually, the only proverb that came to mind is a Yoruba proverb, but I'll try to explain it. Like, owo lofiwa owo is money that you use to find money. Like, that's literally what this is. You need to invest to find money. So it's a lot. Me, I didn't apply to plenty schools because I was like, I'm not gonna waste money. They will not give me admission. I want to apply to a school where they will give me. But I mean, I think that the application fees for school range between $50 and $100, right? Yeah, between $50 and $100. I mean, if it's above $100, I don't think you should go. Yes. Oh yeah, I know. I've heard a school that's $30. So let's just say, but on the average, between $50 and $100. So apply that. So if you're not applying for 4 schools, that's about $400. Let's just say $400 roughly. Then after that, you have to pay for GRE too, because it's not free. You have to pay for TOEFL too. It's not free. You have to pay for service fee if you eventually get in. Then you have to pay for, please, Chisom, remind me if I'm forgetting. It's been like 2 years.
Visa fees.
Visa fees. That one they pay me pass. I will tell people
reciprocity fee too. That exactly. They last year.
And then if you are STEM too, like there's this thing, because I know my husband is in public health, and when he applied for his PhD, he had to pay for West evaluation. You pay separately for that. Then they take your transcript and then apply for it. So it's like a lot. And then there's this SOFAS thing too, because it's like SOFAS is for, I think, public health people. So you have to pay extra for that. So it's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, I'll just say, I mean, in dollars, I would say about $800. I mean, I know that's a lot, but that's even apart from, I mean, that's just the highest. Like, I'm just putting that high. I know that you can spend way less than that, but if you're trying to apply to like all the schools and all of that, you should be willing for that, which is why I always tell, because money is not, I know that it's not, I mean, we all came from Nigeria. We all understand how Nigeria is. So we all know that like money is not, we don't pick money on the street, which is why I'm like, if you find a school that you really want to go to, or you find a number of schools that you really want to go to, just do everything you can, to make yourself a good fit for that school, so you don't have to be paying to several schools. So it's a lot of money, and it's an investment, but then it's worth it. I always still tell people it's worth it. Don't let the amount you pay initially discourage you. It's worth it. It's very worth it. Like, you start to do things that, I mean, you get here, the opportunities are bound, and it's a system that rewards hard work. If you get in here, if you're hardworking, you would make it. You can do it. So please don't be discouraged by the money. I know people who had to borrow. They borrowed to do it. I mean, and eventually they got in, which is why I say you have to pray, because if you are borrowing, you must also pray that you get in, So like, because if you don't get in and then you borrow, you have to change location or something like that. But just pray, and then do whatever you have to do, and involve people. Don't keep your mouth shut. I know people who have done GoFundMe for themselves. If you need to do GoFundMe, if you need to beg your church members, if you need to beg, please beg people. Like, this is not a matter of like, oh, I don't do this, I don't. Please, if you need to talk, if you need to ask people, and you'll be surprised at how many people can help you if you just open your mouth and talk. But if you keep it to yourself, then you won't get any help. So the solution is open your mouth, talk. I mean, I think that's one of the things I had to unlearn, because I'm a very like secretive. I keep everything to myself so that the village people will not attack me and they will not snatch my opportunities in my hand. Those kind of things. But like, when you get here, you know that if you don't open your mouth, you get into trouble. So please ask people. If you need money, if you need anything, just ask. It might be difficult, but please ask. Yeah, I think that's the basic thing I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I just put one of those tips?
Yes.
Okay. If you know that you cannot do all of this, because in the past 1 month now on Twitter, people have been getting scholarship and have been asking for, tagging us that we put a post online that they need money. In fact, one came in just now while you guys are talking, that the person needs money. The person got free funded scholarship but needs money for airfare, needs money to do one or two things. About most of it is about 800K, from 800 to 900K. In my own case, I knew where I was coming from, so I know that Kobo cannot come out from anybody if I get scholarship. So I always tell people, if you know that if you get a fully funded scholarship and you need money, it is only God that can bring money. Kobo and Shishi cannot come out. Please target Asia and target Middle East. Those one will feed you.
I want to have a note.
Oh, please mute yourself.
Now come on, there's no point.
Who is this person? Go ahead. She has muted. Sorry.
Okay. Can I continue?
Yes.
So in my own case, when I got full scholarship, Saudi Arabia paid my air flight. They paid my, what they call it? They call it preparation allowance. When I got there, they are paying us a stipend for reading, and the accommodation and feeding is almost free. We come home once in a year. They paid all expenses fully paid. When we finished school, they paid us some money. Everything in Saudi Arabia is about money. They will pay you. So if you know that if you get scholarship, you cannot get help, you can apply to places like that. Saudi Arabia, Asia, Japan, which other country? Some schools in South Korea, especially in Middle East, Dubai, UAE,
Yeah.
Yes, there are places where you can leverage anything. You can move from there to anywhere in the world. In my own case, I know that if I get the free finance scholarship, 800K, nobody can get it for me. There's no way I can get it. So when I got the scholarship for Saudi, I couldn't carry my load and go and work out to Saudi, get jelly, because I know that those songs will pay everything. So if you are somebody like me, just know where to target. However, I would not say that if you cannot shoot other places too. So please shoot other places. Then, if you can, get it. But I'm just not comfortable with many people asking for money on Twitter and everything. We don't know who is true. We don't know who is wrong, who is not true. That's the problem. We don't know who is true and don't know who is not. Many, because somebody has done it down and it's true. You that you are doing it, you want the money genuinely. They'll just ignore your side. Say, for where we don't give people now. You want to come and. So that's the problem I have with all this public funding. However, if you can get from your immediate people and you don't want it to be really public, why not? So I just pray that God will surround all of us with important people when we need help, because that's more important. I also have people too now who are looking for money for flight to US, people who have scholarship, even to borrow and then bring it back. It's a big issue. So I just pray that God will help us. I just would like to put that, because I know that people don't like Asia. They don't want to hear Asia and Middle East. Please, Asia and Middle East made me by God's grace. You can also try my own options too. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much, Dio, for that insight. Dr. Rita said on the chat there are persons, NGOs, companies funding people who want to write exams. Ask around, like Chisom has said. Let it not be that we are how do they to speak this English? Something where you're doing something over and there's something that's the way we want will, something like that. Let it not be that we are doing it, we are reflogging it, ask, talk, and enhance. Doctor, that's why you're a doctor, reinventing the wheel. Let it not be that we are reinventing the wheel. So please ask, talk, and see. The truth is that some of us are working. If you want to go, you've decided that you want to go there. According to when I was married, say PhD is a marriage. You have to be ready mentally and physically. It's not master you're talking about, it's PhD. You have to be ready to invest, start saving. See, I was living like a girl from the streets because I started saving a year before for my flight ticket, because like Dio said, I knew that shishi, kobo. In short, I did not even want it to come out from my family, because me, I was leaving my job to go for my master's, and my parents were not very well suited with it. I was still trying to buy them into the idea. They're now telling them to bring money. Nobody will answer. Well, they would have answered, but either ways, I needed, you need to start saving now. It's not just you want to go for your master's with mouth, start being intentional about it. High scholars, even SPE Lagos, there are plenty initiatives. You have to be on the lookout for this information. That's why it's very important to even be on this kind of groups where they disseminate information. Take, for instance, a couple of days ago, there was an advert that came out in my school that a professor was doing for a particular person with a particular skill set in a particular area in the University of Oklahoma, and they were really they're going to fund you and do everything. Imagine you're in that kind of group and you match that skill set. That is an edge. Lotana also shared one the other day. This is direct information that you might not even be opportune to see on maybe all these US news or places like that, because you have the right, network around you. So, coming for this meeting today is a right step in the right direction. And let us all hope that we learn from the wisdom that has been bestowed on us today. So as we come to an end, I think we've addressed most of the questions that people have. Sorry, me, I did not write TOEFL, so I don't know English. Somebody said, is it all US universities that require application fee? I've not seen anyone that is free in this US, so money is important.
Can I say something? Yeah.
I know they will waive, but you will know they are waiving it for you.
Yeah.
Because of COVID, they waived it. So, I think that this is actually this year and maybe till next year is actually a very prime time to apply to the US, because they are waiving everything.
I have a friend that got full fund, in short, full funding, no IL, no GRE, no, because they waived everything. So see, it is not too late to apply for spring if you think you can make it. Many schools have waived GRE. Many schools, of course, some schools will still not waive because they have their standards, but the majority have waived it. You get, try to check, do your research. You can still make it for spring 2022. I still see adverts even going out for fall. That will take a lot of tenacity to make it, but try to do your search very well. I know schools also have these things where they do webinar sessions, info sessions, and when you attend, they give you like coupon codes for waived application fees, right? There are also schools in the US that don't even require you to write GRE or TOEFL. I have a friend doing electrical engineering in Washington State University. This was not even in COVID time, it was pre-COVID, so that was their requirement. They don't need GRE, they don't need TOEFL, provided you're from Nigeria. There's some schools that waive TOEFL and IELTS for Nigeria. There's some schools that do not. So at the end of the day, all these things you said from morning till night, the truth is that the summary is that you have to make up your mind to do it and be ready to do your due diligence. That is the summary, right? So does anybody have any final comments? And then so we can call it a day. Some of our panelists need to head out.
Yeah, I just saw someone asking, is there an age limit? There's no age limit. Recently, I was reading a paper about someone who got her who just published her first paper at 83 or so. Like she's in her PhD program or something. So there's no age really. There's no age. Like ignore the whole timeline thing. Whenever you are ready, go for it.
Okay. Just a disclaimer that when we say timeline, when we say timeline, we don't mean timelines of your timeline. Did you graduate? We mean like the school's timeline for you to meet. So US schools, you either resume majorly in the fall or in the spring. So how long you need to start preparing to meet those timelines so you can apply. If you don't apply this year, you can try next year. Some of us that were supposed to come to school in 2020, we didn't come until 2021. So, you know. All right. So I guess that's it for today. I want to say a very big thank you to all of our panelists. This has been a very enlightening session. I have learned so much myself. You know, thank you very much for dedicating your time. I also want to use this opportunity to thank our host, Lotana. I honestly do not know how he manages doing a PhD and anchoring all of these things. I mean, it's beyond me. I thought I could do a lot, but then you always meet people that are more than you. Thank you so much, Lotana, for bringing this together, for your support and helping us attend to the chat section. Thank you to all our panelists, and we hope you get value from our session today, and we hope that in one way or the other we've been able to impact lives. That is the ultimate goal, right? So without further ado, except if there's ado from anybody, so I don't know if anybody else has something to say. So without further ado, we'll call it today. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, host.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.